You know, and the legs, and you're going.
We really had one goal. We wanted to emulate what our heroes were doing. Lake Lizzie, and we were aware of the Boomtown. I actually went to Dublin. Me and my friend went to Daly Mount Park to see Lizzie play when they first came back. And I think it was around the time of the Bad Reputation album. We'd been about 78, 79. And at this time now we hadn't formed the Mammoth Boys. We were just there, but we went there, and that day I seen the Undertones, I seen the Boomtown Rats. So I seen that whole movement moving along there, and of course we wanted to be part of it as well. So it only egged us on even more. We want to be part of this. But I was fortunate enough to see all those bands in their formative years. Of course, Lizzie with the big act that day. Yeah. But the Rats were just phenomenal as well. It was the energy coming from them was just incredible. I'm the same for the Undertones. They were just fun. Their 2-minute songs were just they were just electric.
If you'd had something to say, Pat,
you know,
an opportunity to say it.
Yeah, you know, and they really said it. You know, I mean, you know, they had Mars Bar. I mean, who'd write a song? It was just brilliant.
She won't even let me explain that me and Kevin were just not the same. But I'm perfect cousin. What I like to do, he doesn't. He's just found this pride and joy. His mother's little golden boy.
So it left me with the feeling maybe I could write a song too, you know, and it just egged us on and spurred us on more to do it, with no real aspirations to go any further. It was just like, we'll have a go at that. And then we started getting the gigs, and I have to say the management was very, very encouraging, you know, and it led to after the Bootleg album, within a year we were going back in to do an album called Plug It In, and this time we had booked 3 days to do the album. We were going places. 3 whole days, right? So we had it well rehearsed. I mean, we really did have it well rehearsed, and we're very fortunate. We had Barry Devlin from the Horselips came in to produce that album, and we met up with Philip Begley, who was the engineer. He went on to produce and work with Mary Black. The numerous you name it, Philip has done it, you know. And we became really tight and really good friends. And actually, it was Philip Begley who really showed us the ropes in the studio. We didn't really have an idea then either. So he kind of explained to us how you get your sound and how you place the mics and what sounded good, and he'd make us come in and listen, and then he'd make us listen to he'd bring us back in, him and Barry would bring us back in and sit us down and go, what's good about that and what's not good about it. So we were learning very, very fast how the proper bands operated. So we within a year, I'd say, of the Bootleg, we had the Plug It In out, and I'm not sure. I think Needle in the Groove came out of that, and that was by accident. That was purely by accident. What happened was we were due to go in to record Plug It In. We were all psyched up and geared up for. We were so excited. We were in before anybody else. I had my little amp in the corner, and Tommy had his drum set. Were ready to go, and because of snow, bad weather, the engineer couldn't come in. So Joe came down to us, and as he's walking down to us, I'm doodling around on the guitar, you know, doing a wee, and it was the opening riff to Needle in the Groove, you know, and I was just messing. It wasn't anything like that there. And he said to me, what was that you were playing? I says, oh, nothing. It's just, I'm just, you know, getting the gear ready and just getting warmed up. But he says, there's something there. And it was Joe recognised it. We didn't recognise. He says, we're not in here for another 3 days. He says, that's when we're next back in here. He says, have it turned into a song. So on the way home in the lorry, I said to my brother John, I says, you drive, because I normally drove. I says, you drive, and I got out the electric guitar. So I'm sitting in the front of the lorry. You wouldn't do it now. You know, you certainly wouldn't get away with it now. With no seatbelt or nothing, and I'm going. And they're going, no, I don't like that bit, I don't like this bit, I don't like that bit, as I'm driving along. And we went home, and I had the whole idea for the basic song. It didn't take, and we went out to the shed, we had tea when we went home, Mother had dinner for us, and we went out to the shed, straight away, set up, and within 15 minutes that song was there, for what it is. And it was the one that really launched us then. It was funny, but that's how that song came apart. And it was just with me messing. Probably wasn't even like that at the beginning, but that's what happened. So from out of that then came they heard about it in England, and we managed to sign a distribution deal with a company in England called Albion Records, who had I can't remember her name. She was a punk rocker. O'Connor was her name. I can't think of her name anyway. But she was quite big at the time. She was in Breaking Glass or something like that. Hazel O'Connor. Yeah. Hazel O'Connor, she was on the label, so we were really impressed by this, you know, and I'll never forget it, you know. What, we're signing a publishing and distribution deal, we made it, right? And they said, and we'll take you out for a meal. And we thought, oh, this is fantastic, you know. We're over in London for the first time signing this deal, and they brought us to a hot dog stand at the top of Oxford Street. And that's the truth. We were expected to go to a restaurant. It was all that punk ethic, that'll do you know. So the president said, take your pick, guys. So out of that then came the first tour of England, and that was in '81 with a band called Hawkwind. Now talk about getting a baptism of fire. That was just incredible. That was incredible, because these were left over from the hippie era in the 60s. Yeah. So this is space age music, and I mean even some of the dance music today attributes themselves quite a lot to what Hawkwind were doing then. So that was our first tour. We lined it up in November. Now you have to remember, we thought we had made it. We thought this is a hope. We're there. We're gone. So off we went on this tour, in the lorry, with the gear, and we had no place to stay. So we slept in the back of the lorry. I kid you not, we slept in the back of the lorry in November. This is now a Ford 5-ton truck we had, right? So we used to wake up on top of each other in the morning trying to keep warm. Right? We had a stove, a little stove to heat up the soup. We lived on soup and bread for the entire 5 weeks that we did that tour. And we catch a shower wherever we could at whatever venue if they had one there, and that was it. We looked awful, we smelled awful, but we were determined to actually finish the tour. And we did the tour, and I never forget, at the end of that tour, the Hawkwind boys came in and presented us with a bottle of champagne. And they said, you're the first support band that ever started and finished the tour with us. Because most of it just leave, they said, this is too much. And I remember vividly the first night at the Hexagon Theatre, we were playing there. And we were opening up. We thought it was going to be like we'd seen on Rock Goes to College, or, you know, rapturous applause and the crowd going mental. This is the home of all the great bands like Zeppelin and Lizzie were huge there, and this is going to be fantastic for us. We played our first song and waited for the applause. Absolutely nothing. I mean, you could hear a pin drop. You could actually hear a pin. They just stood staring at us. Which was bizarre, because they were all in doctor's coats as well, the whole entire audience. Don't ask me what that was, I have no idea. I've no idea. It was something got to do with Hawkwind, with no idea. And here's all these guys look as if they're examining you. They're in doctors' white coats and they're just staring up at us. And they didn't even say, get off, you're useless, you're rubbish, anything. They just said nothing. And John came over to me and he just goes, "Whoa, this is going to be a tough one," you know. But we stuck it out, and eventually we started to make inroads, you know. And some places, but you have to remember, it was the whole punk thing as well happening. So we were playing heavy rock, which wasn't particularly, I suppose, it was a little bit left off centre, but we didn't waver from that. We were in love with that type of music, and that was it. And unbeknownst to us at the time, the new wave of British heavy metal was starting to happen, you know. And so there was bands like us, and you had Def Leppard, and you had Iron Maiden, and all those bands were starting to come out of the woodwork. I'm not afraid to say, well, we've been influenced by Thin Lizzy, we've been influenced by Wishbone, we've been influenced by Black Sabbath, Deep Purple. This is where our hearts lay. It's not with the punk movement, and they're not these big dinosaur bands that everybody says they are. But of course, like everything else, when you're young like that, you're playing the music frantically. And we were playing it at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and that's what became the new wave of British heavy metal. It was just, we were just playing it faster. It was a bit of that punk thing going on in it. And when I listen back to what we did, I think it was a glorified punk band, you know. And I remember Jakey Lee from Ozzy's band, he was a big fan of the band, and he said we were the greatest garage band he'd ever heard, because it was just nonsense we were playing. We were like a garage band, and he just couldn't get enough of it. And it was funny, but we met people years later on that were very, you know, very, very influenced by what we did, and we didn't think anything of it at the time. I mean, bands like Mastodon were hugely, I mean, they came up to my brother John and just said, if it hadn't been for you guys, we wouldn't be playing today. And we're going, you got to be ridiculous. And he goes, no, dude, that's the truth. People, the original, the American Skid Row, they were the same. They just said, we seen you guys on MTV, and then we seen you guys playing with Rat and Bon Jovi here, and it just blew our minds, you know. So it was a big, you know, but at the time we didn't think anything of it. It wasn't, and I know I've digressed and moved on a bit, but you know, that was the whole influence of the time. We thought when we got to a certain stage, then we go, is that all there is to it? We wanted more, and when you got to that stage, you wanted more. So we were very driven by that time, very, very driven, and most people would have given up, you know. I mean, they lived like us. We were very fortunate, because when we came back here, we had a wee hardcore following that looked after us. So financially, it kept us on the road, you know, because we wouldn't have been fit to do it otherwise. And because the fact that we were three brothers as well, you know, it was very easy. We all had one aim, and we stuck to that. And we just loved playing. Yeah. You know, it wasn't for the money or anything. If it had been, we'd have forgotten about it a long time ago. It wasn't for any of that. It was just for the love of playing and trying to stand. I mean, we used to go around, you know, the gigs, and you go, you know, you were playing the Oxford Apollo, and you go, this is where the lads from Lizzie stood, you know. This is where Gary and all the boys played their stuff there. And that was it for us. Yeah. That's all it was. It was very innocent, really.